This video is the presentation that I did at my Mastermind event in Dubai with over 100 founders doing over $10 million per year. And what I showed them was basically the high leverage activities for them in terms of conversion rate optimization to make more money out of the existing traffic and be able to scale way further and way more profitable. So in this video, I'm going to talk about how to utilize data points and what the biggest leverage activities are to increase your conversion rate and to increase your average order value with great actionable examples. So enjoy. It's going to be focused around conversion rate optimization because that's what I know best. I've started with a slide from Jeff Bezos and a quote from him because, everyone is familiar with Amazon. This is also one really interesting thing for me to see, that they are so obsessed with testing. Maybe some of you guys have seen this going through Amazon, that sometimes the layout changes, like on desktop where they have the text, where they have the buttons, how they do the upsells, how they do the checkout flow, how they do the one pay with Amazon. Like they're always testing all of this stuff. And it's really, really interesting to see like their approach to it. And we've also implemented a lot of that in like our company and our mindset. And not only like how we do CRO with e-commerce brands or how we apply to funnels, but this general way of thinking, of analyzing data, of coming up with a hypothesis and then testing and validating that hypothesis, right? It's something that you can implement around all areas of business, whether that's the conversion rate optimization, whether that's your general business, right? There's a lot of stuff that you have to test, a lot of needle movers that you have in the business in all areas. And that's why this quote is really interesting for me to see from Jeff Bezos, one of like the biggest companies worldwide, that he himself says that their success is dependent on how many tests they're able to run, like per year, per month, per week, per day, across all different areas in their business, right? A lot of people think conversion optimization, also because of the name, it's a lot of testing, but you can do testing and experimenting in all areas of business. And that's also something that I've tried to just put into my mind, that I also approach more of areas in my business like this, right? I look at data, I try to see patterns, I come up with a hypothesis of, if I change this, then this is going to have a positive impact. And then I test it, and then I again look for data and look for feedback. And then I either do more of that because it worked, or it didn't work, and then I stop doing that, right? So I'd really, start doing that in like more areas of the business. And Jeff Bezos is running a lot of tests. So this presentation it's going to break down what took Jeff Bezos from working in a garage to now being rich on a super yacht with models, with the stuff that you're going to learn now. In this presentation, I want to focus on how to make more money with conversion rate optimization, now specifically on the website. So I'm just going to basically break down the bird's eye view of like what's the most important stuff. And again, like I have 45 minutes. We have a lot of presentations, a lot of input today. This could be a topic just for one day itself. So I'm just going to focus on the most important stuff, right? If you have any questions or want to dive deep into that, we also have panels later, right? I'm here the whole day. So if you have specific questions or want to understand how to do it for you or your use case, just come up to me. Obviously, this presentation is just going to be the 2080. Right, like the most important stuff that I suggest everyone to do. So with conversion rate optimization, I would say the most important thing is collecting the right data points and then analyzing data points, right? So one thing, and I will also include an SOP later that I will send out to you guys, but one thing is really setting up Google Tag Manager and Google Analytics just to get a really good understanding of the quantitative KPIs of your funnel and of your website, right? Just the KPIs, first of all, before really diving into customer feedback and everything. Because if you have a really solid setup with Google Tag Manager and Google Analytics and all of these reports, then you can identify pages with the most traffic, pages with the most revenue, and then pages with the biggest drop-off, right? So one of the reports that we oftentimes like to use, okay, I can see the quality is shitty, but it's basically the report of your whole funnel, right? All of the funnel steps. So for example, advertorial, sales page, cart and checkout process, and then thank you page, right? So basically just your individual funnel. And then you can have this, you can just look at it from the high level and see what are the micro conversions from step to step, right? Do I have the biggest problem because not a lot of people click through from my advertorial to the sales page? Do I have the biggest problem in my checkout process? Do I have the biggest problem on my sales page, right? So this is just initially to get a good understanding of what you focus on. And again, this is why I said the 2080, like there's so much micro details that you can get into, but this is one of the first things that you should do, in my opinion. Set up Google Tag Manager, set up Google Analytics, and then identify what are my pages right now that get the most traffic. Because obviously it makes way more sense to work with the pages that get the most traffic rather than with a About Us page or the imprint or whatever. So that's the first thing that I would look at. I mean, a lot of you guys know this because you push all of the traffic to those pages. But this is just something to keep in mind, right? So first step, understand what pages are getting the most traffic, because obviously there you have the biggest leverage to optimize because that's where the most people are on. Secondly, what are the pages with the most revenue? Sometimes we see that, for example, the home page gets the most traffic, but then the page that generates the most revenue is the collection page, right? Sometimes we see advertorial funnel 1 gets the most traffic, but advertorial funnel 2 gets the most revenue. So firstly, understand what pages get the most traffic. Secondly, understand what pages get the most revenue. And again, you can find all of that in your Google Analytics. And then thirdly, what is the biggest drop off within the funnel? And that's basically where I would start analyzing and what I would start obsessing with. Secondly, I always like to suggest using a tool like Microsoft Clarity or Hotjar, right? A lot of you guys are familiar with these tools. They basically record user behavior. They give you these heat maps of how far people scroll on the page. And they give you the click maps, what you can see here. So basically where people click on the page. And I would basically just set up those tools. And then what I would do is take a couple of screen recordings, right? And just watch them. Watch screen recordings from people that bought and watch screen recordings from people that didn't end up buying, right? These screen recordings are probably the most valuable thing you're going to find inside of all of those Google Analytics tools, all of the data tracking tools, because they give you a pretty good understanding of how people are interacting with your funnel and with your store, right? How do they click? Where do they scroll? Is there certain content that they consume and then certain content that they just scroll past, right? Is there something where they have friction, right? Friction is a huge one. Sometimes, this is just a quick example, sometimes we see people clicking on the review stars on the product page and then nothing happens. It's called a dead click, right? So Microsoft Clarity also gives you a good overview of where people click and nothing happens. And that's friction, right? Because they obviously, like, they want to see reviews or they need more trust before they buy the product. So that's why they want to click on the reviews and read the reviews, but maybe you don't have it clickable, right? Or they click on something else and nothing happens. So that's also really, really good to get a good understanding of how people are interacting with it. And it's also the easiest way of putting yourselves into the shoes of the customer. Because what I see a lot of people doing is, you as brand owners, you exactly know every single word on the funnel, every single page, the exact flow, but your prospects and users, like, they've never seen it, right? So in German, we have a good word for it. I'm missing the English word for Betriebsblindheit. At some point in your business, you're just getting blind, right? And just because you're so deep into it, you know everything, and then it's really tough to take yourself out of the business and try to be new to it. Just like your prospects and your customers. And that's why tools like Microsoft Clarity are super, super helpful to do that. Another thing that's also really, really helpful is to create a psychological consumer profile. Again, I have all of the SOPs for that. I will send that out to you later. I just want to talk about it now so that you've heard it. A lot of people do customer avatars, buyer personas or something, and then they say, yeah, she's 25 years old, she's a girl, she lives in New York, she likes Instagram, she's a nurse, she makes $3,000 a month. And that's all great, right? To get a good understanding of, like, what persona am I going for, what customer avatar. But I really would suggest to take it like one step deeper, right? So for example, not only understand like their role or industry or location or their hobbies or education or whatever, but also their motivations or emotional drivers, right? So one of the things we like to do, and I'm also going to show that later, is, for example, export all of the reviews that you have, right? You will have thousands of reviews from your products. You can export all of that into a spreadsheet, for example. That's one thing. Secondly, you're going to have thousands of emails with your customer support. You can also export that. And then thirdly, we like to manually go to social media, DMs and comments, and also export all of that. And then basically what we have is we have a spreadsheet with thousands and thousands of voices from your customer, right? So where they describe, these are my pain points, these are my motivations, this is why I like the product, this is why I bought the product, right? Maybe you can also do a survey, like a post-purchase survey or a customer survey with your existing customers. And then basically you can use all of the information to then understand what are the key motivations and the key emotional drivers of why they buy it, right? I mean, a lot of you guys will have probably done this already with ChatGPT, right? But that's just the process that I like to go through. Like basically get everything you can from your customers where they talk to you or talk about the product or review the product, export all of that, and then put it into ChatGPT, for example, or have one of your internal data analysts go through it, and then have it basically sort all of the answers for motivations, emotional drivers, pain points, fears, analogies, stories, and everything. And that's going to be super, super interesting for you, because then that's a pretty good analysis of why your customers buy it from the psychological perspective and not only from the like demographic perspective or something. And that's going to give you a lot of really good insights where you're like, oh, I didn't know that this is like one big pain point, right? Or for example, we go through 20,000 reviews and then 10,000 reviews have the same pain point, right? And then you can use that to come up with new creatives or with iterations on the sales page. Based on all of the data, then what you want to do is you just want to write down the ideas that you have, right? So let's say, for example, what I've just done is 10,000 people out of 20,000 customers all have the same big pain point. Then one of the ideas should be, hey, let's put this main pain point into the first product image, or let's put this main pain point into the product description, right? An idea like that. So you should always look at data and then come up with a data-driven idea on how you can optimize your funnel, how you can optimize your creatives or something like that. So that's basically the process. Then what you want to do is you want to do the copywriting and the UX UI design for that idea, right? So you just take a screenshot basically of what the page looks like now, and then you give it to your UX UI designer, for example, so he can really fulfill this idea and make it into something nice for the website. And that's basically the whole process. So setting up data tracking tools, collecting all of the data, analyzing data, coming up with ideas, then doing the UX UI design and copywriting for that. And then you basically run a test. And running a test is mostly just showing that idea to your prospects and gathering market feedback of whether or not it works or whether or not they don't like it, right? So that's the whole idea, like looking at data, coming up with a testing idea, testing that, and then your customers and your market will tell you if this is good or not. Right? And then you can just compare all of the KPIs in terms of what impact did it have on conversion rate? What impact did it have on revenue per user? What impact did it have on the average order value? What impact did it have on profit per user? What impact did it have on revenue? And that's the feedback basically that your market gives you of whether or not that was a good idea and whether or not you should implement that on your funnel. And then the great thing that happens when you're in the program of running a lot of tests in your marketing, then you're going to get a better understanding of what works. And that's basically the competitive edge that I was talking about earlier. Because at some point down the line, you've run 50, 100, 200 tests, and you exactly know, okay, this works. And then what a lot of people neglect on the other hand side, this didn't work, right? So it's not only interesting to see what works well, but it's also really interesting to see what doesn't work at all. And then, for example, you run this test, right, with the biggest pain point. You've implemented that into the first product image, and then it worked really well.
then you can give it to your creative strategist and say, hey, I've just ran this test on my funnel. It worked amazing. Please test out a couple of different hooks with this pain point, or run image ads with this, right? And same the other way around. I mean, you guys probably testing thousands of creatives. You can, all of the learnings in terms of the hook, the copy, the image that worked the best, give that to your website team, right? So that they can implement it on the sales funnels. And that's basically the bird's eye view of the whole process of conversion rate optimization. Again, bird's eye view. And that's why it's so interesting, basically, because a lot of guys just look at the KPIs and they say, well, okay, yeah, I can increase my conversion rate a bit or my average order value. But the biggest value is really in this understanding and feedback constantly from the market of what they like and what they don't like. And that's, at the end of the day, the most important thing. Because if we have a better understanding, then we can also better resonate with people, whether that's through ads, whether that's through the website, or whether that's through email marketing. This was a bit more meta, right? This was a bit more abstract. So I just want to show you some examples so you can also get a better understanding of how to do this yourself. So example number one, this was a fashion brand of Germany. They pushed all of their traffic to their homepage, which is this, right? And then the founders had the idea that, yeah, let's just push all of the traffic to the homepage. People are going to scroll down on the page, and then they're just going to go to the products they like and buy the product. Yeah, it's not right? That's what the founders thought. When we looked at the user recordings, we see that people didn't really scroll down, but rather they would just directly click on the menu and then click on either of these collections or products to go there. Right? Then we looked at the Google Analytics report, and we saw basically what we saw in the Microsoft Clarity user recordings. We also saw in the Google Analytics report. This is the report of where most of the traffic is going through after the homepage. And we basically see that the exact same categories, so tees, sweatshirts, and this one products, is also what is showing here. So this is almost getting 100% of the traffic, as you can see. And this is pretty interesting, right? Because sometimes we have certain ideas or certain opinions of how people are interacting with the funnel or how they are perceiving it, but then the reality is completely different of how they're using it, right? Basically, what we then thought is, well, if all of the people just go into the menu and navigate where they want to go through, maybe it could be better to just take those 3 collections and directly put it on the homepage. Because then they don't really have to open the menu anymore, right? They can just directly on the homepage click where they want to go. So yeah, this was like it was before, basically, where they had to open the menu, then go into the collections. And this then basically was the idea that we had, where we were like, hey, why don't we just put those 3 collections that get like 99% of the traffic on the homepage, and makes everything way easier. And then we basically set up the test. It outperformed the other one by 16% conversion rate, which is pretty interesting. It looks small. It has a crazy big impact on the navigation and the customer journey, basically. But yeah, that's one example of how to look at data and how to come up with a testing idea. I have another example just to drive the point home so you can really see basically the step-by-step process. And this is what I've talked about earlier with exporting all of the reviews. So this is an American brand where they sell these slides. Who has sold those slides before? It's a winning product. Nobody in this room, don't fuck with me. Yeah, I see one hand going up. This was a winning product a couple of years ago. We've seen so many sell this, but basically they've sold these slides. And this is the homepage that they had. And then one thing that we did is we exported all of the customer reviews. So almost 30,000. And this is not the fake Alibaba reviews that some of you guys are using. This was like real customer reviews, right? So we exported all of the real customer reviews, which was also already almost 30,000. And then we just started analyzing through that. So nowadays you can do it with ChatGPT. Back then you had to do it manually. I just want to show you the manual process so you can see it. I just started reading through them. And then I started watching for certain keywords, right? And then a certain keyword, I found one customer say, I love them, they're comfortable, blah, 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 blah. They feel like you're walking on a cloud. This is what one customer wrote. And I was like, this is interesting. I haven't heard that before. We don't have it on the store anywhere. And then I basically did CMDF on my MacBook to see how many out of the 30,000 are also using this to explain how they experience the product. Right? And then I saw, well, out of 30,000 people, over 1,000 people use the same analogy of walking on a cloud to describe why they love the product. Another one that I found happy. A lot of people are happy with the product. I did an analysis. 2,400 people used the word in the review of why they like the product. Another one was relief, pain relief. This was not that much used, so it was like 250 out of 30,000. And then basically we just went through that with like all of the keywords that I could find. But basically these 3 keywords from the customer reviews were the ones that were used the most out of all of the reviews. So the idea of this is you basically just want to identify pattern from your customers and your target audience in the feedback that they give you, right? And that's why I personally also really like this data-driven approach, because you don't have to invent this or come up with this. So I have to sit in front of like a blank piece of paper and say, yeah, my customers like the product because of X, Y, Z. You can just ask your customers and analyze it, right? So we basically found these are the 3 keywords that they use the most. And then we just basically took those 3 keywords, made the design a bit nicer, and put it on the homepage. Feel relieved and happy every step you take. Then we put the testimonial. This is like walking on clouds. We put some cloud emojis. And that was basically it, right? Then we pushed it live, and it had this impact of almost 2.8% conversion rate increase. So just wanted to give you like 2 different examples, right, of like how to look at data and how to come up with ideas. The one more of like a visual navigation example, the other one more of like a copywriting example. But this is pretty much the process that you always want to take. So whether you look at Google Analytics, whether you look at customer reviews, whether you look through forums or user recordings, you always want to look at the data and then try to make something out of that and come up with a good idea of what could you do to make the customer journey better, to make it resonate more with the customer, something like that, right? Now that I've given you basically the process of how to do it, I want to play a game with you guys. I know that a lot of you guys are millionaires already, but still we will play this game today. So we will play a game of which one. I've shown you a lot of different tests already now. So the way that this game works is I will just show you 2 different designs, and then I will ask you which of them performed better. And then you just have to put your hands up, and that's pretty much the whole game. Are you ready to play that? Yes. Okay, nice one. Which of you guys think that this design worked better? This room is too smart. Shit. Which of you guys think the other one worked better? Okay, yeah. I need to do this more with like less advanced people. Okay, second game. This is I hope everyone can see it in the back. Basically, the main change was they have 3 different bundles on the product page. And the main change was in which order these 3 bundles are positioned. So in this, it's like the lowest, middle, high. And then in the other one, it was the highest one pre-selected, then middle, and then low. Make sense? Okay. Which of you guys think that this one won where we pre-selected the lowest option available? 2 hands going up. Okay. Which one of you think that this one was better where we pre-selected the highest average order value bundle? Okay, a lot of hands going up. That was right again. Okay, this is making it too easy. Last one. Here the main change was on this page. It's basically showing how many other people are on the product page. So 2 people are interested as well. And then like a scarcity, like how many products are still available. Which of you guys think that A performed better with the scarcity and the urgency? Okay, half of the room going up. Which of you guys think that B performed better? Okay, also half of the room. A performed better in this case. So you guys are too smart already. I wanted to drive like a really nice point home that you never know. But a lot of you guys are too smart for this game. But yeah, basically the point that I wanted to make, and with some of those, it's not that easy to see. Sometimes people have a certain opinion of what performs better and it then doesn't perform better, right? So it's always good to test. So now I've walked you through basically how everything works from the bird's eye view perspective. Now I want to show you 5 tests basically, or like 5 designs that work well to increase average order value. And then I'm also going to show you 5 tests that perform well to improve our conversion rate. So first of all, how to increase average order value. I mean, there's obviously way more tests for average order value and conversion rate. Again, these are just the most important ones. First one is cross-selling. Second one is bundling. Third one is pop-ups. Fourth one is shipping threshold. And fifth one is one-time offer. So just to show these to you, one way that we found work really well is just a cross-sell on the sales page or product page, right, where you have something like this that can be underneath the call to action. You just have another product where it works really well together. A lot of you guys are in health, wellness, beauty, right? So that always works really, really well if you have some form of consumable product. If you're in fashion, that also works really well to like buy the whole set, right? Just to have that under the call to action, just a cross-sell where you suggest a different product to the user. And again, don't worry, I know the quality isn't that good, but I'm going to send you the presentation either way afterwards. Another one that we also have seen work really well, especially when there's like different SKUs or variants, are bundlings, right? So this is like a skincare brand, this like DIY manicure brand that we have from Germany. And basically what you can see is that girls can basically select like different colors, like all different shades of red and pink, and I don't even know the names of them, but they can basically select different shades that they like, different colors that they like. Then they order the set and then they do their nails at home, right? So basically what we have at the top is we give them 2 different options to choose a set. So you can either choose 3 colors and get 1 free, or you can choose 5 and get 2 free, right? And then it's like a 59 price point, and I think the other one is 79. So that's like the first one to give them different options of what to choose. Then what you can see underneath here is that they just click on these pluses and then they select the colors, right? But then automatically, we always keep 1 blank, right? So even if they choose 3 + 1, and they just put it here, we always leave 1 blank. And as soon as they want to add more on that and just do a custom set, then they can, right? So we don't limit it, and they don't have to make the option at the top of like 3 + 1 or 5 + 2. They can basically just go through that and then also like on the way add like more colors. So we just make it super, super easy. And if you guys want to check it afterwards, I've also put the link here, right? So you can just see how it looks like on the live store. Another one that's working extremely well is that as soon as your prospect clicks on the call to action of put the product into the cart or buy the product on the sales page, then we have a small pop-up going up, right? Which is designed in the way that at the top you have a progress bar, right? I don't know if you guys are familiar with progress bars, but basically a progress bar at the top where you have like 2 to 3 motivations in terms of like average order value that they should hit, right? Where they get, for example, free shipping, they get 10% discount, or they get a free gift, right? And then you just want to show them a lot of other products that pair well with the product that they've just put into the cart. So these pop-ups work really well, just basically as a step between the sales page and then the checkout. Another one, and you can see that this is pretty similar from the design. In your cart, whether that's a cart drawer or a cart page, basically the same idea to have the shipping threshold or like a progress bar at the top, just to make it basically gamify it a bit for them, like making it like a game for them to reach certain stages, giving them certain dopamine hits for doing so, and then also recommending a lot of other products at the top to add to that. Another thing is a one-time offer post-purchase. So for example, if you have different bundles or different levels, then after in the checkout they've bought already, then you can, for example, give them something to upgrade the package, or you can give them something like another product on like a nice discount. So these are pretty much different examples of like how to push the average order value, right? The main thing is always the offer and how you frame them, but these are like really nice small steps on the sales page or with pop-ups or upsells that really have a solid impact on average order value. With conversion rate, these I would say are the most important ones. Again, there's so much stuff you can do, but these are really the most important ones. And a lot of people on YouTube, on Twitter, they show you designs or show you something, and then it's like, put payment providers under the call to action. I'm like, yes, thank you. Now every store looks the same, right? Or they give you these certain stuff that's like so general or like a blueprint. So I don't really like to think about it that way. I like to individualize it for your audience and your customers so it works for them. The first one is optimize the first touch point. The first touch point after they click on the ad is probably the most important thing and the stuff where you should focus most of your time and energy on, right? So for example, you want to run a lot of different tests around the first screen that they see after clicking on the ad, right? The best thing is to always make it really congruent to the ad. So if in the ad, there's a certain pain point, certain product, certain desire, certain transformation shown, you want to have that in the first screen to make it really congruent. Secondly, you can see that just run a lot of different tests, right? Even small things like the image. Does it work best to show a celebrity? Does it work best to just show the product? Or does it show best to show the desired transformation, right? Just test it. Same with the copywriting. Which angle performs the best? What style of copy performs the best, right? Is it more of like a testimonial driven? Is it more of like a storytelling? Is it with the desired transformation? Is it just with the desired situation, right? So I would just really obsess with this first touch point and just run a lot of different tests, because this is the first impression that you make on your prospect after they click on the ad. And it really decides mostly of whether or not they're going to stay on the page or whether they are just going to bounce off again, right? And especially if you have a high bounce off rate, then you should really optimize this. But again, this is like one of the, if not the most important thing to focus your effort on. Next one is the value proposition. I hope you can see it in the back. But basically, the value proposition, I will just read it for you guys. So this was Nomisk, and the value proposition that they had before was instantly relieve period cramps, right? And then the way that we've changed the value proposition was healthy, drug-free, and instant period cramp relief, right? So we just basically added, with the exact same approach from exporting all of the reviews, 2 more words to it. Of the biggest objections that we wanted to handle that we've seen in the FAQs and the objections from exporting all of the customer stuff, right? And the biggest objections were, well, I don't really want to take pills or medicine. A lot of girls, when they go to their doctor, they are prescribed medicine or pills or something like that, right? So there was a huge objection that they had with this. They didn't want to buy something that's like bad or unhealthy or has something to do with like pills or medicine or drugs. So that's why we said it's healthy and drug-free. And those are just like two small words, right? And it doesn't change the value proposition much on the homepage, but it still improved the conversion rate by 2%. Another one, this is also crazy big leverage, are the images that you have on the sales page from your products. So I always recommend these types. There's a couple of more types that are good, but this one I really recommend you have. A good example that you can check out is Huel. I've already shown some examples from Huel, but with Huel basically is a really great state-of-the-art example of what images to have. You always want to show a transformation if you can, some form of before and after. That always works really well. I mean, this is a skincare example, but you can obviously do that with supplements. You can even make that with laundry detergent. You can make it, with fashion, not that well. But there's like so many products where you can show the before and after, and it just works extremely well. Social proof works with every product you sell. So some form of testimonial, reviews from your customers, or third-party endorsements, whether that's, for example, a doctor talking well about the product, an influencer, or some form of authority endorsing the product. That works extremely well. If you have a skincare supplement, whatever, where it's like a bit of science to it or some form of unique mechanism, then I would always take the time to explain it, right? visually, not only in text, because visually works the best and it's the easiest to understand. So for example, how does it work on the skin, or how does it work in the body, or like a quick demonstration of how to utilize the product. And then lastly, I would always also break down the ingredients. Ingredient list, and then also just name the ingredient, and then a quick value proposition of why this ingredient is in the product and what it does for the customer. And there you can again work with a unique mechanism, right? That always has like a pretty good impact. Another one is social proof. This is just a quick example of we implemented reviews on the collection page. This had like a 2.7% increase. Everything where we can include reviews, social proof, testimonials, we do, just because it has such a big impact on conversion rate, because we are all people and we trust what our peers have to say. So social proof is also a pretty big one. And then also testimonials, something like Trustpilot, right? I mean, these two are pretty similar. Again, you can see 2% impact on conversion rate. We just like to use it on all different touch points. And here, a lot of people have it on the sales page already, but then they don't have it on the home page or collection page, or here you can see menu, right? If you're going to go into your Google Analytics, you're going to see a lot of people are probably using the menu to navigate around the store. It's another touch point where we can put social proof or testimonials, right? Which is pretty good. So that's why I also like to recommend it. Lastly, at the end of the presentation, I want to talk about key factors for success that are super important to keep in mind with CRO. The one thing is quality, right? So the best thing you can do is have this data-driven approach that I've went through earlier. And the second thing is quantity, right? So it doesn't make sense to run test like one thing every quarter, right? Or 2 things a year or something. This has the best impact if you hit high quality and high quantity, right? So I like to recommend at least 4 tests every single month, because that's 50 tests per year. And 50 tests per year has already a pretty solid impact on your funnels, on your conversion rate, on your average order value. The number one biggest mistake I see tons of people doing, and it's really the worst thing you can do, is not working properly with data and statistical significance. This is a topic by itself. I don't want to dive too deep into it, but basically the analogy to it on the creative side, imagine you do creative testing, you have 2 creatives. Both creatives get a $100 ad spend. The one creative has a 2x ROAS, the other one has a 5x ROAS. You wouldn't say, hey, Carl, let's take the second creative and put a 100K ad spend on it, right? Because it only had $100 of data. And it's not enough data to be significant, right? But that's what a lot of people do on the website. They run an A/B test with a certain tool. Maybe the tool tells them, yeah, it's a winner. Or maybe they themselves look into it and they say after 3 days, yeah, it has such a big impact, such a big lift, right? But it just doesn't have enough data, and it's like doesn't make sense, right? And we like to call this false positive in statistics, right? False positive is basically you think you made a great job and you have a winner, and in the first 3 days of data, it showed good results. You implement it, and then everything goes down in your store because it wasn't good, right? And that's why it's so important. I mean, 90% of the room has an 8-figure brand. That's $1 million a month at least, right? If you have a false positive and you think it has an impact of like 10% plus, but it has an impact of 10% minus, that's at least $100,000 per month that you're losing because you implement that. And then you will take some time to understand that was the thing that's causing the negative drop, right? So that's why it's so important to be aware. Be aware of that. These are rules of thumbs of what you want to work with bare minimum, right? So that should be at least 20,000 people in the A/B test. That should be at least 1,000 conversions in the A/B test, at least 2 weeks runtime, and at least 90% significance. Some people run tests for like 3, 4, 5 days, whatever. All of you guys that have bought media, you know that the consumer behavior is different from day to day and hour to hour, right? Monday morning, the ROAS is different than Friday evening, than Sunday around lunch. Everyone knows this. A lot of people are also changing the budgets by the hour, right? Or by the day. And this is the same with consumer behavior on the website. If you run a test on Monday to Thursday, the result because of the consumer behavior is going to be completely different than if you run it from Friday to Sunday. And that's why you want to have at least 2 weeks. We run most of the tests for 4 weeks. Like 95% of tests we run for 4 weeks, but that's why you want to have 2 weeks at least. So you have every single day of the week twice, right? And that's how you can get the factors out of the equation. A good thing that you can do is work with an A/B test calculator. There's a lot of tools online, and then you can just put the results into there, and then the calculator will tell you how many data you need, how many days you need, and all of that stuff to be a significant result. And if this calculator doesn't tell you it's significant, then it isn't, right? That's the problem with a lot of those tools like VWO, A/B Tasty, whatever they are called. You run an A/B test, and obviously the software has an incentive of you using the tool. So the software wants to give you a dopamine hit, right? Like a positive feeling. So that's why those softwares will quickly tell you, you have a big winner. It's great. So you're like, oh yeah, I love this software. We'll use it more. We'll use it longer. They have a higher CLV with you, right? So that's why I would always use like a third-party calculator to verify that. So the conclusion of all of that, of what you should have, is solid tech stack for data collection, a data-driven process to get a good quality idea, reach the quality and quantity output, work with statistically significant result, and then compound results over time, right? If done right, if you hit the quality, if you hit the quantity, you can reach anywhere from 15 to 25% in additional revenue per year just from the CRO. So I would say that's pretty significant if you're at 8 figures, because this is also mostly profit, right? Because you've already paid for the people to come to the store. Yes, hope this was helpful. Again, I will send the presentation out to you and also some of the SOPs that I've mentioned. And yeah, thank you guys so much for the attention.